Is called Decoding the Humanitarian Future in a Rapidly Changing World.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome to a session we have chosen to call Decoding the Humanitarian Future in a Rapidly Changing World. We started this conference on Tuesday with a panel on humanitarian reform. Is that even feasible today when we look at everything that has happened to the humanitarian industry over the past year? Is it still meaningful to talk about humanitarian reform? And one of the reasons we wanted to do that is that we've internally in ACAPS spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to react in this moment of time. We work with knowledge production, so we don't do anything tangible. We write reports, we send them out into the world, and really the success of what we do relies on the agency of others. If we don't change the way people think and make decisions, then we have failed. And when the industry we serve is undergoing as profound a change as what we're seeing right now, it is extremely important for us to not just do business as normal, but to really reflect on how we can pivot to follow the changes of the world. And that's difficult. That's difficult when you lose 40% of your funding, when you are struggling with a world where new crises seem to pop up every other week. We have the terrible situation in the Middle East right now in Iran. How do we position ourselves? How do we react? How do we produce knowledge that ultimately creates better outcomes for the people affected by crisis? Our slogan is "See the crisis, change the outcome." How do we change the outcome in a world that is changing as profoundly as what we're seeing right now? We've wrestled with that, right? And tried to carve out some time to reflect on that in the midst of everything else. And we have had the pleasure of working with Paula Hilbay-San over the past couple of months, trying to help us not just inch forward or muddle through a difficult moment, but to actually truly pivot. And we don't want to bore you too much with how we're doing that and what the answers we actually came up with. What we would like to share with you today, and what we hope we can create an interesting session around, is the way we approached it. How did we try to unstick our minds so that we actually think radically or laterally enough to change at the pace we need to change? And so I won't say much more now. I'll hand it over to Paula, who will take us through a light version of what we have put the team through over the past couple of months, not always happily. Let's be honest, it's hard to get people to try to think about things that are not immediately important. But it is important that we set aside part of our bandwidth to really think radically differently. And we hope we can share a slice of that with you today. So over to you, Paula.
Thank you, Lars Peter. And thank you to all of you for making it to what is actually like the last session of what could have felt like 5 years in humanitarian heaven. I struggle sometimes to introduce myself because the truth is that I am a consultant that people hire when they have something that is really, really difficult that they need to do. And when I first had a conversation with Lars Peter, it was clear that he was trying to figure out how to bring a different way of thinking to ACAPS. And it is rare to find an organization that wants to question itself in that way when all people want to do is just find ways of surviving. And so when we were thinking about, okay, what do we do after we have shared this amazing way of thinking with the team, we thought, okay, let's bring it to the world. So what we're going to do today is give you an experience. We have curated for you an experience. So this will not be a panel, and we require your participation. So if you have your laptop out or you're thinking, oh my God, this is the moment where I disconnect, it's going to be challenging because this is a workshop. not a session. So if you want to escape, now is the time. Um, for the people that are joining online, it's really difficult to do these experiences in a way that work well online and in person. So we're going to privilege the in-person interactions, but we're going to invite you to observe. And then we're going to have a lot of time in plenary so that you're going to be able to join the conversation as well. Um, so what is it that we did? Well, we did a thing that is called speculative foresight, right? And there are many ways in which you can use the future to produce strategy. You can do foresight in a very academic way, where you like sit down in a room and then you're like, what are the trends and how are we are affecting our business, right? And then you do strategy based on that. Or you can also recognize that it's really difficult to do strategy in moments of uncertainty because in those moments we don't only lose clarity, we lose the capacity to imaginate. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining the biology behind this, but when cortisol levels in the brain go up, your ability to think long term or to do divergent thinking biologically diminishes. So in these moments where organizations are like, oh, how are we going to survive? The brain doesn't allow you to think differently. And so what we have created is the space to do that. And that's why we're calling speculative foresight what we're going to do. Because we're bringing elements of art into our ability to imaginate a different version of, for ACAPS, what ACAPS could contribute to its own ecosystem. Now, um, it is sort of like interesting to have these conversations with humanitarians, of which I consider myself part of the group, because anything that sounds artsy sounds like a waste of time, right? So you're like, are you kidding me? Did I waste my last session to come and talk to a woman who's telling us we're going to do artsy things with Legos? But I want you to know that all of the other clients that I have that want to do this sort of things are commercial giants. There, I think, is a recognition that when you're in a world where the rules have collapsed and you do not have rules to plan on top of, being able to imagine yourself in a different version of the world in a way that you can touch it is really important. And so what we're going to do today and what ACAPS did in a very valuable way is not decoration, right? Like this is not indulgence. This is actually building the scaffolding of cognitive infrastructure. And we are doing speculative foresight through the use of artifacts because there's a lot of work out there that knows that when you are doing foresight work, it is difficult for human beings to imagine themselves in a different future that doesn't look quite similar to what you have today, right? So, unless you become sort of like an emotional participant in that future, it's really difficult for you to take tangible action towards that future. Organizations don't do things that they think are feasible. They do new things that they can imagine. As in, like if you can visualize it organizationally as a collective, it is more likely that you will be able to do radically different things. So we're hoping that this experience is also going to help you sort of like digest some of the things that you heard this week. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to like come closer because we're not so many people and you're going to work with your peers. I know, right? Like, what? She's asking us to move. So I need you to make sure that you're sitting next to someone. So if you're not, go and find someone. And we're we're gonna do pairs, right? So find a pair. If you don't have a pair, you need to find one. You can be in threes as well. Okay. Okay. All right. Should we do like in the school? Should we do like, can you hear me? Or should I like whistle? It's unfortunate I cannot stand up. Okay, all right. Hello. Hi. Hello. Okay. Hello. Hello. Oh my God, you're so excited. I thought everyone's gonna be like, ugh. Does everyone have a pair? Okay. She's going to leave. Did you just arrive? This is the right place to be. Can you come and sit at the front because we're going to be working in pairs and there's someone here that needs a pair. Um, all right. So what I would like you to do is to think back over the conversations that you've had this week. All of the panels that you've been to, the coffees that you had, and I want you to think about one thing about the humanitarian system that feels unsolved or uncomfortable or unsaid. And you're like, I can think of 25 things, but I want you to first individually in your head to think of one, right? Unsolved, uncomfortable, unsaid. And then when you're ready, I want you to talk to the person next to you to see what they came up with. Okay? Does that make sense? Give me like a thumbs up if it's clear. All right. So I'm gonna give you a timer for like 2 minutes so that you can think individually for those introverts in the room. Okay? And then when you're ready, you talk. But if the person next to you is an extrovert, good luck. Huh? Fancy? Okay. Yeah. Have you had a chance to discuss a little bit? Yes? No. Okay. All right. Can I have your attention, please? Have you had a chance to have a chat? What? Were you just like talking about like, hi, my name is Ali, like that? Okay. Can I have your attention at the front, please? Okay. All right. Yeah? You ready? So I want you to keep that feeling, right, that you exchanged, because what we're gonna do now is we're going to go into the future. Shocking, right? So, did you see the time machine that ACAPS brought to the sessions? What? Yeah, so ACAPS brought, yeah, I know. ACAPS brought a time machine to the HNPW. It's in the market sort of thing downstairs. You should go and check it out when you're done. And what happens when you go into this? Hi, the gentleman at the back. You need to pay attention to me, otherwise it doesn't work because it's not a panel. Yeah, yeah, all right. Um, so ACAPS bought this time machine, and what happens when you go into this time machine is that all of a sudden you're in the year 2036, right? It's like you open and it's like, oh my God, it's like 10 years later. And it's also quite weird because you're embodying someone else's body. So when you go into 2036, it turns out that I'm now Wairimu. So you're looking at your hands and you're like, oh my God, I'm Wairimu. But you still have your consciousness, right? Like you can still observe. But because you're Wairimu, you don't have to do anything. Wairimu will answer the questions. Wairimu knows how to act. It's just that you have the opportunity to see the world through her eyes. You're in the time machine for a limited amount of time, right? It's a limited opportunity where you go get the chance to observe what's happening in this future. And then all of a sudden something's going to sound and whoop, you're going to be observed, sort of absorbed back into the present. Now, we are going to give you some scenarios that we crafted with a lot of evidence because it's ACAPS, right? We wouldn't be doing like finger in the air sort of thing. Some scenarios of the future for you to travel, right, in this time machine. The most important thing that you have to remember is that when you come back to today, you need to bring back a souvenir. So you have to observe what is life like, right, in that future, so that when you come back, you bring back a souvenir. And the best souvenirs are things or items that are used in this future that are common, right? So if I was a time traveler from 1991, there, like, I think everyone, no, there's like no one here that's like, be like, I wasn't born. No. Imagine I was a time traveler from 1991 and I arrived. I'd be like, well, this is pretty cool. Like, I'll take a battery pack, right? It's a souvenir. Why is this a good souvenir from this year? Because it showcases that we're obsessed with appliances. So much that I don't have the time to plug in my appliance, right? I need to keep my appliance going all the time. What does this say as well? It says a lot of our ability as humanity to have batteries that are now portable, which in 1991 probably looked like a suitcase, right? Or like a gigantor trunk. So this is a good souvenir. So when you're looking at the future, I want you to think about what you're going to bring back. What does that thing represent in 2036 and why do you think it's important? Okay? Because you're going to build the artifact. What? Yes, yes, it's okay to be in a panic. We have a table for you to do a lot of crafting, right? We have Legos. Yes, crafting. We have Legos, we have markers, we have glue, we have scissors, we have a lot of things. Because what I need you to do is I need you as a pair to read the scenario, right? Discuss what life is like in that world and then tell us what souvenir you're bringing back from the world. And then when you're done, I need you to come and bring them here. Are you panicked enough? Yes? Are there any questions of clarification of what you're meant to be doing? Please don't be shy because it will be embarrassing if like you have a lot of time and you don't know what you're doing.
You said there's a scenario.
Yes. I am going to give you the scenarios. Any other questions? Okay, yes. You're going to have half an hour. Okay? You're just not allowed to leave this room. If you leave the room within half an hour, I will understand that you have left. And that's absolutely fine. Like, there's no prisoners here. But we need you, yes, we need you to make sure that you stay in the space, right? So that you also engage from the collectivity that's generating in this space. Put your hand up if you don't have a pair, if you don't have a buddy. Caroline doesn't have a buddy. You don't have a buddy, Caroline. Are you going to work in threes? Okay. Okay. All right. So everyone has a pair, I assume? You don't have a pair? Because he's... Okay, you can work with her. Okay, all right. So look at your time, okay? In half an hour, you have to come back having read the scenario, discuss what life is like, and selected and built a meaningful artifact. Okay? You can come to get the scenarios at the front. Good luck. For the people who are joining online, we're going to share a QR code so you can follow the scenarios too. Her hands never cold. Got that day style. She kind of using on. Have to think twice. She's pure as New York snow. Got that day style. Still leave you up there. Yeah, leave you up there. No, don't you know? Talking about a river, sounds. Don't you know? Talking about a river, sounds. While they're scanning in the welfare line, trying to do it themselves, the salvation, wasting time in the uniform line, sitting here waiting for soldier. Don't you know? Talking about it, now, look right up, get there, yeah. Look right up, take what's there. What you know better than So you have like 13 minutes. And this is obviously a competition. So if you haven't started, you should start now. Please remember that we're going to display your artifacts, right? So make them as self-explanatory as you can. Ian? If you are done with your artifact, please bring it to the table so that we can display. I like it. We only have 5 minutes, so you need to finish up and then bring your artifact to the front, please. All right, it's time. The time is up. You need to bring your artifacts to the front, please. All right, can I have the last artifacts, please? Yes, run, Chris. Do we have all of the artifacts at the front? Please. Okay, please make sure that you bring your artifacts because we're going to start. And if you don't have it at the front, then it doesn't exist. I would like to invite you to come and see the gallery. Right? So and let's try and do it like if we were in Disneyland. So there are like two lines, okay? There's one line that is going this way and another line that is going that way. Okay? We're going this way and this line is not everyone on the same line. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a keyboard. Make it a bit fuller. This is actually versus. Those are robots. All right. Are you an engineer? So they right. Moving along. All right, keep moving, ladies and gentlemen. It's like going to see the Mona Lisa. You get 5 seconds and then you have to move. Right? Like you don't have time to observe and absorb. All right, keep moving, keep moving. There's a lot of people. You have to keep moving. You can have time at the end. All right, ladies. All right. Yes. Oh, wow. Keep moving. Keep moving, please. There's like so many people behind you. Keep moving. Looks like for the people who are at the back, you can just come on this side. There's like no one on this side. All right, keep moving, please. There's so many people waiting. Okay, moving on, please. This is almost over. The gallery is about to close. I know, right? So slow. I know, right? So many things to absorb.
Forgot to write something on
No, 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 that's cheating. Okay, can you please take a seat? All right. Oh. Okay, can I have your attention, please? Yes. This is what they do in my children's school. So, like, if a teacher puts their hand up, everyone's meant to put their hand up to make sure that she knows that you're looking at her. Yeah. It's so very revolutionary, so I like it. Okay. So now is the time where we have a conversation, open conversation in plenary. So how was it? You have to unmute because otherwise we cannot hear you all. I heard fun. Who said fun? Tell me. Tell me.
It was fun to be a bit creative for change.
Yeah. What else? How was it?
For us, it was a little bit stressful and confusing.
Why? Tell me more. Why?
Well, first of all, just understanding the scenario and trying to visualize the context and then picking up the ideas as to what object would represent all those many different feelings. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm also trying to give you some tips, right, in case you want to run things like this with your own teams. These exercises succeed if people feel something. So when you arrived in the room, I was playing music, right? Because what I'm trying to do is to make you feel that this is a different space so that you're relaxed. When you started to read the scenario, I played different type of music so that I could help your brain lower the cortisol levels of stress of like, oh my God, what is this thing and what do I do with it? But as soon as you started to discuss, I changed the music to signal to your brain that this was a moment to produce. Okay? So the environment matters because if you don't feel anything, you don't produce anything that is meaningful, right? I'm gonna put you on the spot. There's a group that was like, I hate this scenario. I cannot think of anything good. I don't want to bring anything. This is like really pissing me off. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think you already did it really well. That was the feeling. We were
Yes.
disturbed, we were confused, we didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want that future.
Yes.
Was it a scenario one? Yours? I don't know
Yes.
how others felt about scenario one.
Yes, exactly. And this is something that doesn't happen in your normal strategy session. In your normal strategy session, you will have someone who wants everyone to agree. right? Let's agree. So they want everyone to be happy and like, no, let's find a compromise. But truly good ideas come from people feeling angry about stuff, right? It makes you want to fix it. It makes you want to do something about it. So a rainbow, right, of emotions is important. And we have crafted the scenarios for that rainbow of emotions, right? We feel, at least I feel uncomfortable in this current moment, right? I feel uncomfortable with what I see in the news. I feel uncomfortable with what I hear from the sector. I fly from Myanmar to come here and I'm sitting in these panels and I'm like, this is all you can say? As in, there's a lot of mixed anger and like unrest and uncertainty. So it would be absolutely a waste if you do not bring those feelings to the way you do your strategy. So instead of using that as a thing to paralyze you, use it as a way to fuel your ability to do things differently. Okay. I want to hear what's your favorite thing? And you can always say mine, right? Of all the things that you saw here, which is your favorite one? Which is the one that you were like, oh, clever? Can you just unmute yourself? Yeah.
I'm wondering, the lady who brought the mask, I'm wondering if it's not the same thing as we had there. Is it something to fool AIs or something? Oh. Um, yeah.
What is the other one that you're
The one with the hat, the horizontal thing. There. Yes, yeah, that one. Yes, that thing. It was meant to protect. It was meant to fool the drones. Yeah. So I'm wondering.
So why did you choose to bring a drone protector back from the future?
Because there was this drone session this morning, and
And you're like, I don't care what the scenario says. We need to protect ourselves from the drones. I like it. I like it. How about that one? What is this one about?
Yeah, go ahead. So the scenario was so depressing, we figured the character would need an antidepressant pill. But since it was the future, we thought it's like a virtual reality mask to escape into a comforting universe.
So what was depressing about your scenario?
I mean, there was
Hearing the woman. I like that, Ali.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Tell us.
It was all so people were just talking about process and risk and not about the substance of the thing they're probably trying to analyze, and everything that would have been substance or material was kind of in a black box that was a machine. And so there's also the mask that is the interface between the machine and the human.
I like it.
And just to add, there was no interaction, like there was just hierarchy and silencing of people, so they became kind of automatrons in the scenario and subjecting themselves to the AI generated data.
I don't know about you, but I attended all of the AI sessions that I could. And it doesn't sound so far-fetched to think that that could happen. There's a black box as well. Someone did a black box. Ian, why don't you tell us about the black box?
So we looked at it as a black box problem in our scenario. And so the kind of black boxes were you don't know what's going on within a system. And so that was the issue there. So there were question marks with the inputs into the system, the black box if you don't know what's going in the system. And then we did a nice little telegram symbol, which was kind of what they got the framing in. So yeah, so that's what that was about.
Who else had that scenario as well? So what did you do for your artifact? Scenario number 2. Who else had scenario number 2? Right. What did you guys do, Caroline? Which one's yours?
So we did a futuristic phone with a little red antenna. And this phone is actually a holographic phone, which enables you to contact the affected communities directly with holograms in order to ground truth the distorted reality you are getting through the what is it called? Predicta device. So we kind of thought, okay, this is obviously very dystopian. How do we course correct this through a futuristic device? And our answer was this telephone.
So good scenarios, also like tips for you running these exercises with your teams. Good scenarios are never 100% bad and never 100% good, right? They need to have a mix of things that would be desirable with things that are not desirable. Because look at reality. Look at the humanitarian sector right now. I love to complain. It's like in my Spanish DNA. But there are some things that are actually really good that were not in place 10 years ago. There are also other things that are undesirable. So to fast forward for where ACAPS is now with this exercise, the next step would be to identify what are those elements of the scenario that your organization finds desirable, so that you can either protect what you have that will lead you towards that part of like the future, or that you choose to have a portfolio of innovations so that you will build that version of the future, right? So it's not always about chasing your tail and analyzing risks and protecting yourself. It's also trying to figure out what are the things about the future that you like, so that you invest right now to be able to have them later. And if you identify things within your culture or your organization that already sound like they're going in that direction, you protect them like a lion. Who else had scenario number 2? What did you do?
Hi everyone. So we went a little bit 2D, which is the drawing over there. Yeah, with the keyboard. Yep.
Said with a keyboard, I totally.
Oh, you see. So we did something right. So yeah, what we took was this predictor as like an online dashboard that was constantly being fed by information. So we thought that this is something really good for quick decision making for when there is an onset event. This is something that we were discussing with my partner here of how important it is to have real information, even if it's not validated, but at least some information that would guide us towards where we want to go, and also how important it is for us to validate the information that is out there. Right now, we have different dashboards, different sources of information, but getting it in real time, updated, validated, and centralized it's a challenge. So we thought it was a good thing that we could bring this back to the present.
Who else brought a dashboard? Who else brought back a dashboard? Okay, Chris, tell us about your dashboard. Which one is it?
It's the tiny one that's only got 3 words on it. It's like looks like a little calculator. So our analysis was that the person whose body we were inhabiting had like lost their ability to think critically and was overly relying on AI in a bad way, and we decided our job was to keep those bad habits. And so what that represents is an absolute oversimplification that's so meaningless. But that was what we were trying to represent in that, how it's only got 3 words on the screen, deliberately like a smaller screen, because everybody's attention span is that of a injured goldfish, so.
And it also has a button with money, right?
That's just because that was the only bit of Lego we could get. The money's not supposed to.
That one, which is like done money. Who else did a dashboard? You did a dashboard. Which one's your dashboard?
We had the one that's the opposite of the black box in style. It looks like a big mess. I think.
No, it's red. It's like a picture. Red.
This one? That red? Oh, that one.
Yeah. And it was it was designed as a deliberate mess, given so the box or the sort of box was an illustration of the mess of the data that was available. And then the dashboard is just a reflection of what happens if you put messy data into a dashboard. Then you have a messy dashboard, essentially. And then to illustrate the importance of then having a human judgment angle on that wasn't present.
So the value of artifacts is not only to like materialize what the future looks like so that your brain can relate to that future. It's also for you to take it as a design exercise. So if you brought back a dashboard that you think, that would be pretty cool, then the question that you ask yourself is what would it take? What would it take for us to go from what we have now to have that thing? Instead of saying like, oh, it would be cool, right? And then like, bye, next meeting. The question, what would it take, pushes you into design action. But if you have something that you brought back that you totally want to avoid, then you can ask the same question. What would it take to avoid our dashboards to evolve into that mess, right? So you have both sort of preventive and generative action. Who else did something that you want to talk about? I'm looking at you because it looks pretty cool. You have to.
We brought back the was it predictor machine, which is, I think in our scenario, is sort of the community has one of these boards sitting somewhere and they all come together and they all give information about what's happening, and it somehow disappears into somewhere and then someone makes decisions. And so we sort of put on there things like big predictors watching you, and it's almost like sort of they feel empowered but then have no agency of what happens with the information that they are empowered to share. Sort of.
So
Do you wanna...
why did you bring that one back? What do you want us to learn from that?
That's if you do that, that's what the reactions that we wrote on is you're gonna get a rejection by the community rather than getting the real information. You're gonna get, I guess, false information because they're gonna start to interpret and.
Yeah, I think we also it turned what began as a whiteboard turned into a sort of large angry graffiti board, because I think I was getting increasingly angry and frustrated with the scenario number 3, which has this sort of strangely quasi-poetic tone to it, as if somebody was trying to sort of make a dystopian movie, which was very uncomfortable for me. So we wrote some rude messages on that.
I'm going to take that as a compliment. Who else had scenario number 3? Because I can see this one as well. Is it more or less the same? Ooh, sorry. Is it more or less the same idea? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's the same idea. We felt that the whiteboard was kind of the focal point of the scenario and kind of all consuming of the information. So we thought it made the most sense to bring that back, even though it may or may not be actually helpful for the community.
And I want us to remember that last phrase, whether it might be or not helpful for the community. You also did that same scenario, right? Which one? You did this one.
Yeah, so we didn't quite read your instructions, it's dystopian. But so we brought in as the antenna. So it's a mini version. So it's like a mini version of actually the bigger thing. We've called that the box, which I think goes back to what many of you have been saying, is where all the information is being gathered. And it's basically, it's AI generated in terms of information. You've got a couple of guys sitting up there who are a little bit the engineers. We were neither positive nor negative about the box, but it was more bringing it back to have people understand, as you said, it's about foresight, that, 20, whatever it is from now, this is how things are going to be managed and handled. So the question for us, based on everyone else, is how then do you deal with this? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? But that's what the future actually looks like. And yeah, the scenario, we didn't like it. We needed HUD because we just did not like the future. And it was basically, it was destabilizing in terms of it's just so neutral and so, antiseptic in many ways.
So doing speculative foresight exercises helps with figuring out what some of these like terms that we throw around could actually mean in reality, right? And that's why I was underlining what you said. So how do you plan for localization? Like, what do you do with that one, right? Well, if you do an exercise where you take to the extreme the values of localization, then it allows you to test very quickly the assumptions behind what you think would be desirable, which is harder if you're just trying to have a policy-driven conversation about localization, right? Futures and foresight, when it's done properly, is only an exercise to test your assumptions of what you think would be great or what you think would not be so great, right? Any other artifacts that people brought that we haven't talked about? There's still a couple. You have to.
Yeah, I didn't really volunteer, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Absolutely.
Which one's yours?
No, so ours is the one also with the drone hat, and then no, the one, the little Lego drone man with the drone hat that was discussed earlier, and then also a very elementary version of an infographic that was intended to be. The point was to make an infographic that, as in the case of our scenario, is automatically and constantly made and updated. And in our Lego pack, we had a whip. And we thought, actually, we brought it back to the whip of a donor, because in our scenario, also the donors have the same exact access to the same kind of data in real time. And this feeling of donors defining immediately in real time, ultimately, what we have to do and where we have to go, and we're so donor driven. I feel that that is a sentiment that is real today, but it may probably be exacerbated in the future. And this loss of ultimately legitimacy in providing an analysis and information, I think, to those who fund us is definitely a constraint that that is clear a little bit in the scenario that we had. And it's just, yeah, that's what it was.
So what would happen in a world of full on real-time accountability and compliance?
Well, what would be, say that again, sorry. What would,
so like you're trying to explore what would happen in a world of full on 100% real-time accountability and compliance. Is that correct?
Yeah, ultimately it would be a limitation of having a role and really somewhat shaping the messages towards people who have different kinds of incentives.
Yeah.
And so again, who are we? Like, who are we in the space? Are we just there to execute, which kind of is what we're leaning toward? But who are we actually in the space to have the pressures? I mean, to engage in making the pressures that are needed for then the communities we're serving to really be the priority.
Yeah. So all of the scenarios that we created for ACAPS are all feasible, as in like there's nothing in here that would be outside of the realms of the possibility with where we see, for example, technology or humanitarian policy or politics going, right? There's no scenario that says, and then there was a Martian that landed and like, no, right? I see you. But they operate on a range of desirability, right? And they also operate on a range of change from the situation where we are now to where we could be. So there are some that are closer and there are others that are farther away. We have two more scenarios that we did not share today. One of those two scenarios is so close to home that when we did the exercise with the ACAPS team, everyone was like, what? I said like, no, what? So when you have conversations about the future with your team, it's important to have a conversation about not only what's going to happen when everything changes, but also what's going to happen when we come back to the HNPW in 2036 and we're talking about the same things. Because futures where nothing changes are also made out of a bunch of decisions. Sean, do you want to talk about yours? I will model it.
Okay, excellent. I definitely not the point that was shared. Oh, sorry. I think maybe the point to add is the reason we created a wearable device for this predictor information to come through is because we wanted to capture a sense of isolation and detachment. And we imagined this operations person maybe inhabiting an office where it was all kind of cubicles and where where the information came in, but it had muted dialogue and deliberation around decision making. Yeah, so it also still, like, so we assumed some things were the same. So, you know, still having the lovely humanitarian vest that you can clip that onto.
I'm glad those are not disappearing. Who else did something else that we haven't discussed? There's still a couple. Please, you had a question, sorry, and I ignored you. Can you use your microphone, please? Thank you.
We had a body-worn wrist device to receive the information. It's the two things at the front on the left in the blue, I think. Yeah. And actually, we made it rather difficult, so we decided we weren't going to make anything that was actually mentioned in the scenario. It had to be something different. But our body-worn device both passed on the information that has so much power, but it also is a form of biosensor. So whatever the intelligent source is that's making the information is knowing the effects that different information is having on humans and its capacity to, as it says, settle their emotions. So it kind of takes that power of language to the extreme. And the other one is like, we kind of felt there would be some form of resistance, that humans would want to have a way to use language for themselves to tell stories completely disconnected from this information.
Which scenario was that?
That was
two.
The predictor one. Well, it's all predictor, isn't it?
Mm.
2.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot of desirability, right? And not so much. Who else has not talked about what they did? Oh, we got all of them. No, we've got 2, that at least 3. Yes.
Yeah, we have the one on the left on a black sheet. And basically, we brought back a quite dystopian sitrep where everything's one voice but doesn't really have any content anymore, which is also why it's all in corporate blue and sort of looking the same. And then there's a little black box with a tiny little pink voice stuck in it. And that's like the local voice that's no longer being heard.
He's clapping. Why are you clapping? I like that one. Would you want to like unmute so that they can hear you?
I like that one.
For the people online.
I liked that one.
He likes that one. What do you like about it?
No, I just thought the message was very sharp. I like the corporate blue. That was smart. I don't know. The voice trapped inside. No, it was just. I mean, they're all amazing, but
Yeah.
That one gets my vote, I think.
Because it is a competition. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a competition. And perhaps this is one of the last messages that I want to share. When we first started, put your hand up if you thought, I'm not an artsy person. Crafting, like, well, I don't like it. Put your hand up. Yeah. Well, this is all pretty artistic to me, right? And it's not me trying to be nice to you, like, guys, you're all artists. No. It's because creativity is something that human beings are born with. That's it, period. The only difference is that some human beings are able to tap into it more than other human beings. As in, if you immediately saw the Legos and the craft paper and you're like, this is my jam, that says that you are able to more easily get into the space where you can do divergent thinking, right? This thing of like putting together two things that are unrelated to build new things. But if it took you a little while, it means that perhaps you're not so used to it. But everyone managed, right? So in my experience doing this for like, I don't know, 15 years, do not stop when people say that they can't. Do what I did with you today. Did you notice what I did with you today? I waited, right? I gave you clear instructions. I gave you the materials, and then I waited and I observed you, right? So if anyone said, I'm not an artist, I don't know how to draw, I was like, no, of course you can do it. You can do this, you can do that. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that, right? If I go to your table and you haven't done anything, then I try to understand what would inspire you. Competition usually inspires human beings, right? So doing these things with a group of people is relevant, not only for what the group is producing as a consensus, but also because your team members will have different levels of their ability to do divergent thinking. Okay, are there any It's going to be hard at the moment, but I will get to it, I promise. Are there any others that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, we didn't discuss ours.
Please, can you unmute?
We sailed the predictor machine back across the sea, and it has inside the orange thing. You can do that motion, and it will tell you if there's going to be peace or conflict.
Oh my gosh.
I like that.
I would like to take that one to Myanmar if possible. Who else is missing? Who else is missing? Yeah.
Ours is missing the one on the front left that's like a screen. Yes. Maybe not so divergent. We made the predictor machine, and it requires a little bit of like demonstration. But so we just put all of these numbers that we got the impression from reading the scenario, just like a sense of overwhelm of data that in some ways almost became meaningless because it was changing so rapidly. So as you can see, the numbers change very, very rapidly. But the confidence score doesn't. So that made us feel like, oh, does this actually even mean anything? We also thought it was kind of interesting that the scenario almost presented like this binary, like you can have quick incorrect data or you can have slow in-depth data that comes too late. But I guess maybe a question like, is that the binary, or is it just depends on where you're sitting?
Choices, right?
Yeah, we also made the machine, which the one that looks like a frame. Yeah, it comes in two pieces. So it's either a very large phone or a small tablet. The green paper being the content of the screen, with all the updates coming all the time. And one of the things that we discussed is that you get like this real life feed, but you don't have any of the history on the data, and you cannot see like any trends. You're just like keep on being constantly updated without being able to look back. So yeah.
Great. So we're going to finish on time. But before we do that, I would like you to take 30 seconds to think about one thing that you're going to be doing differently next week from the insights that you collected here today. One thing that you will do differently from the insights that you collected here today. And then when you're done, we'll say thank you. Lars Peter, do you want to say something else? And for the people online, I will get to you. But it's like the end of the day and people look like they need to finish. Do you want to say some words?
I think first, thank you to Paula and thank you to all of you for fantastic work. And I was thinking about how many hours I've spent in this building over the years, most of it passively listening to different policy discussions. And I wonder whether we as a community fully tap into the creativity and the solutions that we actually have. When I heard the voices from all of you thinking about data, the speed, the autopilot that we see, all the things we are struggling with, how often do we actually really give ourselves the luxury or just the possibility to reflect the way we've done right now? And it didn't take a lot of time. It took some brilliant facilitation from Paula, and thank you. And it took a group of people like you who had the appetite to play a bit. So I think we should do that a bit more. And that's basically what we wanted to share with you today. So thank you for playing along.